got dengue fever, which is a mosquito-borne viral infection that is common in tropical areas like Vietnam. Not very common in America, but basically it causes a really high fever and just overall body soreness. It's a really bad illness to get. It causes like a 1 to 2 week illness, and I ended up having to go to the hospital. At the same time that I got dengue fever, I got food poisoning too, which was just really bad luck. I started noticing symptoms just around noon. I think it was a Tuesday at noon. Came out of nowhere, really. All of a sudden just started feeling really bad, and I had to lay down. I had the chills, and I didn't know what was going on. And I thought, okay, it might be food poisoning because I, ate something the night before that was from a restaurant I'd never had. So that was what I was thinking. Maybe this is food poisoning. Trang ended up getting some medicine for me at the pharmacy. And while you were at the pharmacy, the pharmacist told you that dengue fever was going around. I didn't even really know what dengue fever was, but I didn't like the sound of it, and I was obviously a little bit frightened. But the pharmacist also said, give it 3 days and then go to the hospital. If your fever doesn't get worse over the course of 3 days, then go to the hospital after that. So at home, and I was kind of like, I don't know, should I go to the hospital? I really didn't want to go. Trang called her mom, told her what was happening. Her mom said, you should probably go over to the hospital. And her mom had already predicted, well, not predicted, but when I had a stomach ache in Phan Rang over at Tet Holiday, her mom suggested that we go to get it looked at because it could be appendicitis. Turned out it was appendicitis. So I had to have emergency appendix removal surgery in a hospital in Phan Rang. But if I didn't know about it, my appendix could have burst. That could have been lethal. So shout out to Trang's mom, that was a good job. I started having diarrhea as well throughout the day. So I had this really bad fever plus diarrhea. Just feeling overall really awful. We got a thermometer, checked my temperature. It was around, what was it, 38.5 or something. We gave it about 12 hours, and Trang was also saying, you know what, it's probably best we just play it safe. Let's go to the hospital. Finally, I relented. I really didn't want to go, but I said, all right, let's go. So it was like midnight by then. We get to the hospital, check in, and they immediately take me into the like emergency room area or whatever, and I tell them what's going on. At this point, I'm looking like just really like disheveled, like ugh. And they got me on an IV drip of paracetamol, which is like Tylenol basically. That's a fever reducer. And they took my blood. I was kind of waiting there for some results of that. Then they took me to get an X-ray. And they were just trying to rule some things out, trying to figure out what this could be, what this is. Then the results came back, the initial results came back, and they said, well, you've definitely got an infection, or possibly more than one infection, but we don't exactly know what it is. Also, your kidney and your liver aren't functioning properly, like there's some disorder going on there. So we're gonna need you to stay at the hospital at least for a few days, possibly like up to a week. And at this point I'm like, oh my God, not again. This is my second time being hospitalized in Vietnam this year, second major hospitalization. I wasn't happy. Basically had to bring me to a recovery room. They had options for the recovery rooms. They had either the shared recovery room, which was like $40 a night, or they had the private recovery room, which was like $150 a night. $150 a night for up to a week seemed pretty steep. So I decided to go with the shared recovery room. It wasn't the most comfortable experience overall. They did have food there. They had a food service, so I was able to like eat some food and I was able to drink water. So that was good. That was a good sign. I was able to eat food and drink water, but I was going to the bathroom really often. They had me on antibiotic drips and painkiller drips.
It's pretty brutal right now. I haven't been able to get any paracetamol since like 4 this morning or 2 this morning or something like that. I'm in a lot of pain, fever. I just had some lunch, but I want an IV drip of, I don't really know what it is. I don't know. But yeah, overall I think I like the Phan Rang hospital better than this one.
We still didn't really know what was going on, but they thought that these things, they knew I had a fever. The painkiller would bring the fever down, and the antibiotics could help with if it were a bacterial infection. There was a lot of noise in the shared recovery room, so I had to use earplugs to sleep. But once I had the earplugs and an eye mask, it was okay. I was able to get some sleep, but it definitely wasn't the most comfortable situation. And I'm laying there in the bed, and I'm really hoping it's not dengue fever. Finally, the doctor comes in with the result.
So basically the worst news ever, besides maybe getting like HIV, I have dengue fever. Tropical disease spread by mosquitoes. The outlook is at least 4 days of high fever, and then probably at least 7 days to fully recover, if not up to 2 weeks. So I'm just devastated. I feel like absolute crap right now. Chang's got a bucket. She's gonna wash myself with a rag on a stick. That's a Simpsons quote. Anyways, keep you guys updated.
You've got dengue fever and you've got food poisoning at the same time. I started getting a little bit of sleep. That was helping, but I would go through these periods of like feeling pretty good and then just feeling absolutely terrible.
Drip, 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 drip. I'm feeling a lot better. I was able to sleep for like 4 or 5 hours, and if I'm sleeping, I'm not feeling this fever, so that's really good. Earplugs have worked really well because there's just a lot of noise in here. It's a room with 6 people. The prices here for a private room the price in Phan Rang for a private room was like 600,000 a night. The price here for a private room is like 3.7 million per night. So like $180. And if I gotta be here a week, it's just like a little steep, but it's fine. Just plug the earplugs in and make it work. But I am feeling a little bit better, so I just want to tell you guys that.
Shivering, aches, fever, and then this entire time also I'm dealing with the food poisoning. So I'm going to the bathroom 6-7 times a day at least, just diarrhea. But yeah, it was interesting. It was the feelings of like feeling better the feelings of feeling better and feeling worse definitely had to do with when I was getting the painkillers and when I was not getting the painkiller. The hospital did have a food service. It wasn't the greatest food in the world, but it wasn't terrible. It was also affordable. I mostly ate Vietnamese porridge, or what's known as chow.
Breakfast is served. I got chow, chicken chow. Chang got bún bò wet. And I'm feeling a lot better today. The temperature is down to 38 Celsius. When I'm on the paracetamol, it's down to 37 Celsius. And I'm getting more sleep. And I took a shower, so just overall feeling pretty good. What do you think of the food here?
I think it's clean. I think it's really clean, and the quality is good. It's nutritious, I think, too.
Yeah. My favorite part is the fruit, but in the mornings, I guess they don't give fruit.
They give you this in the morning.
Yeah, they give you milk. I don't drink milk. I'm intolerant to lactose.
And then essentially it was just days upon days of laying in a hospital bed on IV drips, paracetamol to reduce the fever, and then antibiotics to kill the bacterial infection, which was the food poisoning. The viral infection they can't kill with the antibiotics, so that's just kind of a wait it out type thing.
Paracetamol, my only friend now. And I'm only getting it every 10 hours now, so yeah, still feeling pretty rough, but almost 3 days in. Hopefully just one more day of agony.
The doctors were mostly concerned about my blood platelet levels and my white blood cell count. So they would do a blood test every morning, and they would come back to me with the results in like around noon or early afternoon and let me know. At this point, my kidney and liver function began to normalize as well. Overall, the staff and the doctors were pretty good, but I do wish I was given a little bit more attention. But I do realize that there were a lot of patients there, and some that were a lot worse off than I was. But yeah, the doctor would come in basically once a day and let me know about what my platelet levels were, and they pretty much were in line with what someone would expect when they have dengue fever. And towards the end of the stay, they were starting to rise, so that was positive, and that's definitely what you want to see with dengue fever. I also had nurses come in and check me once or twice a day to check my vital signs, like my blood pressure, my pulse, and my temperature. And then they would also come in regularly and change the IVs.
So I just kind of got into it with the staff here. Because there was this one just like heavy-handed, just rude nurse who came in here and was like scolding me for not wearing a shirt. It's like, all right, I've been here 4 days already. No one's mentioned anything about, having to have a shirt on. That's fine too. I mean, here's the biggest gown they can give me. I can't even button it really, so it doesn't fit. But yeah, also my IV is there in my arm, so how are you gonna get to it? Anyways, and I'm dealing with dengue fever where my body needs to emit heat. I'm not walking around naked, it's just, so it's weird because, they're like, well, it's just our hospital regulation. And I'm like, okay, well, what about other regulations that you either should have, or if you already have them, you're not enforcing them? Like this morning, when this guy wakes up at 4:30 in the morning, starts scolding his wife, and then starts playing his phone on completely loud volume. I call the nurse to come over so maybe she can deal with that situation. Call the nurse, no one comes. I deal with the situation myself and tell the guy in Vietnamese to lower his volume, that people here are sick and they're trying to sleep. We're gonna selectively enforce rules upon you, but we're gonna willfully ignore you know, other rule breakers or what have you. Anyways, that's how it felt to me. Obviously, I'm dealing with the personal bias of it's me and I'm advocating for me because I am me. But anyways, day 4 now, I'm feeling better. Fever's gone down to like 37.5, and I am gonna be off the IV for the bacterial infection and on pills for that. The only thing I need the IV for now is the paracetamol to keep my fever in check. I should be out of here in a few days.
Overall, the dengue fever and the food poisoning was just several days of fever hell. I was sitting there in agony, in pain. I really don't wish that upon anybody. It's not a great disease to get or illness to get, but it is something that's kind of common in this region of the world, or kind of anywhere near the equator. And you know, a fever like that is no joke. My highest recorded temperature was 40.5 degrees Celsius, which is 105 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think hospitalization was definitely necessary. Shout out to Trang's mom and Trang again for nudging me to go to the hospital.
So 2 major developments. I changed the IV, had the IV spot changed. That always freaks me out a little bit because I don't like looking at it. But she did a good job of putting it in a new spot. I think after a few days, just one spot gets kind of sore, so you gotta change that out. And Trang got me a book.
I ended up spending 6 days total in the hospital, and then by that 6th day I was feeling a lot better and I was ready to go home.
So it's my last day here, last hours here in the hospital. Checking out today. It's about 7 a.m. I'll be out of here by 9 a.m. Feeling a lot better. My vitals have been steady the whole time. My blood platelet levels are going up. When I came in here, I had a little bit of kidney like dysfunction. That's gone back to normal. And I just feel a lot better overall. They want me to stay one more day just to like confirm tests and stuff. I'm out of here, I'm over it. And also Trang's getting a little bit sick too. So, you know, just gotta, I think Trang, do you think you got sick from here in the hospital?
Dude, I was sick before I got in the hospital, but I got really sick while I'm in here, so maybe it has something to do with, I think there's something circling around the hospital.
Do you want to be checked in as a patient here, or do you feel like recovering at home is better?
Probably recovering at home.
I also wanted to recover at home initially, but I guess, you know, because I got food poisoning and dengue fever at the same time and also had no idea what was going on, was running 105.5 degree fever, or 40.5 Celsius degree fever. Probably a good idea that I came in here. But in any case, you know, shout out to my white blood cells, staying true, getting me through this. Shout out to God. Thanks for keeping me safe. Shout out to my family. Shout out Trang. Special shout out for helping me out through all this. There she is. And shout out to all you guys for sending me messages of love and support throughout this. I'm excited to get back home and get back to work, feeling better. IVs are out. A couple of just, you know, minor IV, kind of like soreness, injury, bolt issues. But yeah, be out of here today. Unfortunately, it looks like it's raining pretty heavily. You can hear the thunder and
rain, so. But, oh well. Vietnam. Overall impressions of the hospital. Probably go over that. Yeah. Go over that later. Overall, the hospital, which was Ho Chi Minh Hospital in Phu Nhuận District, it was decent. It's definitely not as modern as what you would expect at a U.S. hospital, but it was more advanced and modern than the hospital I was in Phan Rang for the appendicitis surgery. But yeah, the Ho Chi Minh Hospital here in Saigon, it had all the necessary machinery to do like x-rays and ultrasounds that were required. I had a blood tests and stool samples done. They had doctors and nurses that knew what they were doing and knew how to treat this disease because, like I said, it is kind of common out here. Also, I noticed that the doctors here in Saigon at the Ho Chi Minh Hospital, they were able to speak English somewhat, definitely better than the doctors in Phan Rang, but still it was very essential for me to have Trang with me. She was able to, she's actually a medical interpreter, so she was really able to help me out and bridge that gap between my level of Vietnamese, which is pretty low, and the Vietnamese that the doctors and the nurses were saying. So with a little bit higher quality hospital here in Saigon versus Phan Rang came a much higher price. I had an appendectomy, so appendix removal surgery, and I spent about 4 days in the hospital recovering there. Overall, the price for that was 5.5 million Vietnam dong, which is like $220. But the overall experience at Ho Chi Minh Hospital for the treatment of dengue and food poisoning, all the medicine and the recovery room was 15 million Vietnam dong, which is about $600 US. Unfortunately, dengue fever is going around right now, and since I've gotten dengue fever, 2 of my best friends have gotten dengue fever. I've spoken to several of my other friends who have lived here for a while, and they've already had dengue fever in the past, so it's something to keep in mind for those of you who are living here or plan on traveling here or moving here. Dengue fever is something that you may run into. Hopefully you don't. It's very unlucky and unfortunate to get it. At one point I was feeling so petty that I looked up whether or not the mosquito also suffers from dengue. The mosquito that gave me dengue, is he also suffering from a bad fever? Unfortunately, for my pettiness, the mosquito does not suffer and lives its life normally, which I was a little bit frustrated about because I'm over there suffering in the hospital bed, and that mosquito is out there living his best life. But overall, I'm really thankful for my health. Thankful for Trang and Trang's family. Thankful for my family. And thankful for all of you guys who are out there watching, and for those of you who messaged me and supported me throughout the illness. I really appreciate that. That was very sweet. And you know, hopefully I don't have any more major medical issues that require hospitalization anytime soon. I think that's probably a knock on wood moment. There's a little tree here I'm gonna knock on.
So you said you had to share a room and it was pretty noisy. How many people do you share a room with?
Yeah, so there was like 6 people in the room, and then there was 1 shared bathroom.
Why is the dengue fever dangerous though? Because you had to stay in the hospital.
Well, the dengue fever is dangerous because you can run such a high fever. So my fever, like I said, it topped at 40.5 degrees Celsius, 105 degrees Fahrenheit. If you run anything higher than that, like 106, 107 degrees Fahrenheit fever for any amount of time, like 30 minutes, you can have permanent brain damage. So you want to be in the hospital. You want to be somewhere where they can treat you for the symptoms, because they're very severe from that illness. And there's more that Trang's more of a scientist than me, so she can tell you a little bit more about why dengue is dangerous.
So I looked it up online, and another name for it is actually dengue hemorrhaging fever, which means basically bleeding. So what makes it dangerous also, I think, is because on the 4th or the 5th day, if your platelet level drop to a critical low, so your platelets are what coagulate your blood, and so that you don't bleed out, and if that level drops to a critically low level, your organs can bleed out, and so you come across symptoms like gum bleeding or like severe bruising on your skin. So the doctor also reminded us to look out for those signs. You're a pretty big person for the average size.
Yeah.
For the average, Asian people or Vietnamese people size. So is that a problem when you go to like public places, like hospitals and stuff, and you get amenities that are not to your size?
Yeah, definitely. So you saw in the clip there that, the shirt barely fit me. Also, sometimes like the beds are a little bit small, but I was able to fit in the bed. But yeah, things like just overall, like, I mean, this isn't related to the illness, but like airplane seats are a little bit smaller. Yeah, things do tend to be catered more towards people of smaller size. Anyways, I hope all you guys are healthy out there. I hope you never get dengue fever. But if you do, you can get treatment here in Vietnam for it. You can go to the hospitals and they will help you out. But yeah, I just hope you never get it. But I hope you did like this vlog. And if you did like the vlog, click the like button, subscribe to the channel to support the growth, and leave any comments. Yeah, I'm really happy to hear from you all. And I'll see you all in the next vlog. Peace.